Good morning and welcome to the AWS course. Today we will be talking about the AWS security services. Now, what are these? Why are they important? How they can be used? We will know as we go along. This is what we are going to learn in this module today. The first concept that we are going to learn is the concept of IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. This is what provides the necessary tools for you to manage users in your account in Amazon. Many of you who are doing your system admin function would know about role-based access controls. So IAM is the one which allows you to provide the necessary control to your users. So what are the objectives of this particular module? Well, at the end of this module, you should be able to state what is the key functionality of Amazon IAM. You must know the purpose of the user management console. You must understand what is Web Identity Federation, and you'll also be able to explain what are the various ways in which you can assign permission to the users. Now, what does identity and access management allow us to do? Identity and access management allows us to create users. It allows us to assign permissions to the users. Then it allows us to create different groups. That is, if you have multiple users, how can you group them together and give a common permission? It will group them together. It allows you to create rules. I will later explain to you in detail what is the meaning of a role, and it also allows us to do what is called as federation. I'll again explain this once we come to that point in the slides. Now, who are these users? Why do you require users? Now, you need users so that they have to be recognized by the AWS services and the applications. Basically, you know why users are required, because there will be one administrator and or a few administrators, and a lot of others are users who have limited privileges. So let us say somebody who is a backup user may have access only to certain things, like access to an EC2 instance and EBS volume, and access to S3 to store all the data from there. Now, this is an example of a user. Similarly, you may have a user who is only in charge of the database. So you'll have a different database user for them, right? So for every user, we will provide some security credentials. The simplest security credentials we all know about is the password. So every user will be assigned a password. If you want, you can also do a multi-factor authentication in AWS, in which case you will have two factors for authentication. The first being the password, the second being some token like an RSA token or something nowadays which works on a cell phone. On a mobile phone, you have applications which give you a token which can be used as a second authentication. You can also grant access for some of your resources for users who are outside your account. That is, you have another account in your company and some users of that account. Suppose you want them to have access for your S3, you can provide access to them. And users can make a request to a particular service based on the privileges that they have. For example, if I give somebody a privilege only to interact with S3, that person will not be in a position to interact with EC2 service. So I can restrict that person to a particular service. So the person will only go to S3, upload files, download files, delete files, etc. But the person cannot start an EC2 instance, terminate a EC2 instance, or run a EC2 instance. So these are some uses of IAM. We'll see more. So what does IAM allow us to do? IAM allows us to create users, delete users, and you can list the users. You can create groups, and you can define who can be a part of the group. You can manage the security credentials, and finally, the most importantly, you can assign privileges or permissions on which Amazon service the particular user can use. What is a group? Group can be said to be a collection of IAM users. Why do we require a group? Well, it is more for segregation on one hand and more for ease of administration on the other hand. Segregation means you know that a few of the users are using the Amazon service in your company because they are backup administrators. So I can create a group of backup administrators and put all these users as part of this backup administrators group. So immediately I'll get to know, oh, these are the people who are involved in backup. Some other users who are involved in databases, I create a separate group for them. I put them in the database group. Suppose the managers in my company, I can create a group called managers where I can put them in one group and give them permission only to read from all the services, to view the services, but not to use the services. Such things can be done so that when you segregate this, it becomes easy for you both to know who is doing what role. And secondly, you can now administer this much easily. In the sense, when you create a group, you give permissions for that group. For the backup administrators group, we can give a permission for them that they can interface with S3. I give full access to S3 for them. When I do that, every member who is added into the group will get permission to access S3. So I don't need to explicitly once again set permission for each individual member. So if you have 5 people working as backup administrators, just create a group, create the 5 users and put them as part of the backup administrators group, and all the 5 of them will get S3 full access privileges. That is how it will help you manage the users much more efficiently. Okay, group per se will not have any security credentials, and a group per se cannot access a web service directly. Only the members in the group can access the web services. The group is solely here to make it easier for you to manage the permissions of the user. What is an IAM role? Now, this is a slightly tricky thing. But before coming to the IAM role, let me go and first give you a demonstration of how to create a user, how to give password to the user, how to log out and log in as a user, and then we will also talk about how to create a group, and in the group how to add new members. So let us do the demonstration first. Once we do that, we will then go ahead and do the other part, which is IAM role and other things. Just give me a minute. I'll start that. 1 minute. Okay. Sorry, yeah. This is the IAM group. So let us go to the. This is my instance running. Okay, you can go to IAM using this. It's the identity and access management. Here we have the dashboard for the identity and access management. On the left side of it, you have users. So click on the users. I'd already created an admin user. So I'll not go into the admin user, but rather let me create a new user. I call this as a Manipal user. Now observe here, there is one checkbox which says generate an access key for each user. Now, what is this access key? Let me explain what this access key is. Suppose you are making a request to S3 to give you a list of all the buckets. S3 must know if you are a validated user and if you have permissions to access S3. So there are the two conditions. One, you are a validated user. Two, you have permission to use the service. Now, how does this know when you log in from a console? When you log in from a console, you validate yourself, and whatever are your credentials, those will tell Amazon as to what privileges you have. That is, once you logged in, the user has certain privileges and the mapping is done internally, and Amazon will know what are your credentials. Now, when a call is sent, these credentials are sent out as a part of the request, and the receiving service reads the credentials, understands that you are a valid user, and second, you have the privileges to make the call, and then returns the answer back. So what are your credentials? Now that is the main thing. When you log in from the console, it is the console will validate you. But suppose you are working on a CLI, the command line interface, or if you are programming using the SDK, the software development kit, who validates you? Because you will be running the commands from your laptop. You will not be logging into Amazon. Now, in these cases, in order to get yourself validated by the Amazon infrastructure, you need to provide what is known as an access key and a secret key. So whenever a user is created, two keys are created for him, an access key and a secret key. Now the access key and secret key is sent on every call. to the service from where we are demanding certain response, and the service will read this access key and secret key and understand that you have the rights to make the call and accordingly will respond back to you. So if you want to use your CLI or if you want to use your SDK, downloading these two keys is a must. These keys are not required if you are working from the AWS console. It's important to note, if you work from AWS console, all you require is your password. But if you are working from your CLI or your desktop and trying to do anything, then you will require these two keys, the secret key and the access key. So I'm going to download those keys. I say create. A user has been created, and here is the security credentials of the user. The security credential includes the access key, which is here, and the secret key, which is here. The next option for us is to download these credentials, or I can just cut the credentials and paste them. So I can cut and paste the credentials. It's up to you. If you download it, it will come in the form of an Excel CSV file. Since I've already downloaded it, I don't want any. Okay, I cancel it and then I close it. Now you can see that a user called Manipal has been created. The next step is to give the user a password. So let us go and give a password to the user. In order to give a password, select Manipal, go to user action, go to manage password. There are multiple ways in which you can manage password. Initially, if you want, the system itself will auto-generate a password and give it to the person, or you can give your own password. So let me go and give my own custom password. Now, this also asks if the new user must create a new password at the next sign-in. You would have seen this in many of your banks and others, where they give you they send a password to you by courier or mail, and once you open it, there is a 6-letter password or something, and once you log in, the first screen that comes up is asking you to change that password. So if you want to do something like that, you can tick this here. For time being, we don't want to do that, so we'll just apply. Now, as you see, the password has been created. The next step is to see how to assign a role to this. You have to assign a role to the user. I wouldn't call it role. We call it role normal system admin parlance, but here we would assign policies or privileges to the user. So let us see how we do that. In order to do that, we have to go to the policies page, select a policy we want to assign, and then select the user we want to assign. I'll show you how that is done. First, on the left side, you see the policies. Click on it, you will get the policies page. Now, I'm going to say, for this particular role, I want to give S3 full access for this person. S3 full access. These are already listed policies which are present in Amazon. So you can see here, so many of them are there. You can use whatever you want. Okay. So I put S3 full permission and go to policy action and attach this policy. Now we have to attach this policy to a particular user. Manipal is our user. We click on it and we attach. Now our user will have the S3 policy. The question is, how do we know? How do we know that this user can access S3? Only way we can know is by actually testing it. So I'm going to now log out as the current user, the root user, and log in as the new user called Manipal that I created. How do I do this? So here you go. First, go on the top and wherever your name appears, click on it and sign it out. I forgot to tell you something. Before sign out, we have to check something, the link which we need to do. So give me a second, we'll sign in again. Okay, I'm going to sign in. Now, when you sign in with an email address, this is called as a root account. You may want to note it down. When you sign in with an email ID, then you are signing into your root account. Here you will have all privileges for all the actions that are available. Okay. So I'm going to go and sign in into this. I've signed into it. Let me go to identity and access management. Okay. Now I have to log in as Manipal user. In order to log in there, we have a different link for logging. The way you can find it, go and click on the dashboard. There's the screen which comes up, and here there is going to be something called IAM users sign in link. This is where IAM users have to go and sign in. So there are two options. If you want to run it on a different window, you can go incognito. If not, you can sign out from here and sign in as the new user. So let me note down the link. Let me try opening an incognito window. Now here I go. I put the new, earlier it was just console.login. Now the account has come, my username and password has come. So I had given a user called Manipal, and I had given some password. Now you see, I have logged in as a different user. How do I know which user I am? Well, just go up and look here. On the right side, you will know which user you have logged in as. Currently, I have logged in as a user called Manipal inside the account of Suresh123. So this information is there. Now let us look and see what permission we gave this user. This user, we gave only one permission, which was S3 full access, which means the person responsible can upload file to the S3 bucket, can download file from there, can do all activities on S3, but cannot do any activity on EC2. So let us go and check if that really happens. That is, EC2 you cannot do, but on S3 is able to retrieve some important things. So I'm going to try and start an EC2 instance. And see if I am able to start or not. Now you see this. You are not authorized. 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 You are just not authorized. Okay? Why? Because we have not given the authorization. So let me go back and go to S3. Now I can see this. So I can say I have a Manipal bucket. I can go in and check this. Suppose I want to upload something. Say start upload or select a file, add file, right? I have pictures and I have this picture. I'm going to do this. I start upload. Here you go. So you can upload a file. So if you want to go and delete this file, you can take the action. See that file has got deleted. So what we have done is we have shown that you have a user, then we put up some privileges for the user, and based on the privileges, you will be able to use certain services and you will not be able to use certain other services. So that is what IAM does at one level. Now let me go and create a group. Again, when I want to create a group, I should go back to my root account, because only the root or the admin account has the right to create the IAM user and groups. There are two ways again of going. One, if you have an old screen, you can directly go there. But I'll show you another way. Let us take this case. I'm going to go out and sign out from this. Now sign into the console. Instead of that, again I'm going to put my full link. Be aware, you should not just click on the sign into the console, but you must put this link if you are going. Now in this case, I want to go to my root account. How do I do that? Because there is nothing like a root name and password, and if you try giving your email name, it may not work here. So down below you have sign in using root account credentials. So here you can go and put up your email ID and then go and log in. but I'm going to go and do it in the old account now. This is my old account. I have one user. So let me go and create another user. I call this Manipal2. Now when I'm doing the demo, you will see that I'm not giving any privileges to the user or I'm not attaching any policy to the user. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a group. Inside the group, I'm going to put this user, and to the group, I'm going to attach the policy. Then you will see the policy is actually attached to this user as well. So let us go and do this. So there's some issue. Let me just go back and come again. Users. So now I've created this user called Manipal2. As I said, I'm not going to give any policy definitions and attach to Manipal2. Rather, I'm going to create a group, add Manipal2 into that group. Let's see how we do that. Go to groups. I'm going to make this as backup or admins, or I'm going to say managers group. We'll call it as managers group, and we'll give them read-only permission for EC2. And here I'm going to give them EC2 read-only permissions. So if I want to find out a particular access policy, then you can just filter it here. Here we got EC2 read-only access. I'm doing that, going for the next step. I review this policy and I create the group. Now inside the managers group, I'm going to take this action of add users to the group. And I'm going to use Manipal2 to add to the group. Okay, that has been done and the users have become 1. So they said Manipal2 is part of the users. Now comes the question again, how do we go and test this up? Because we are currently in the root, so I can go out and go to the other one here, and once again I can paste this, get the console wherein user login exists. Now I'm going to use Manipal2 and login. Now let us look at certain things. what have we given as permissions? We have given them only EC2 read-only permissions. Therefore, if I go to S3, what will happen? See, it says you don't have permission to use the S3 console because you have not given them permission for S3. So let's go back to EC2 and see what happens there. Now, you are able to see this, but unlike last time when you didn't have this permission, you couldn't even see this. But this time we have read permission, so we can see this. But let's see what happens if I launch an instance. Looks like it is going to launch the instance, but we have not given it permission. So let us go and see what happens. Okay, we have done everything. We are ready to launch the instance. Here, when you try to launch the instance, it will tell you you are not authorized to perform this operation. Why? Because you don't have permission to launch an EC2 instance. The only permission you have is to view the VC2 instance details. So you can go to any of the VC2 instance things and view the result, how many are running, how many are in stop state, how many are in terminated state, etc. But you will not able to do anything other than those. That is, you cannot start an instance, you cannot stop an instance, you cannot terminate an instance. So that is because we are given only a read-only permission. Okay. Another important thing which I need to tell you, suppose I go into again something else. Let us say I want to go to IAM. I don't have permission. So can you see here it is saying the user has no permission. So obviously they don't want you to go there and do anything here. Now let me get back to the original one and show you certain things. Right, here you are. This is the original one. Here you can see on the top, it has only my name, which means that this is the root account. An important thing which I wanted to show you was this. There's something called policies here, right? And we have been selecting the policy. Now, what is a policy? How do you write a policy? It is not enough if there are some policies given to you which you can use. But it's also important that you be given a way in which you can yourself write the policy that you need. It can be a policy which you may need in the future, a policy which you may need now, but you want to have some control over what resources I expose to my users, what services I expose to my users. So in order to do this, Amazon has put all its policies as a JSON file. JSON stands for JavaScript object notation, JSON. So our policies will be defined using JSON, and it is very, very humanly readable. JSON is like a key value pair data structure. You just go and you can easily read what they are planning to do as far as the policy is concerned. So let us go and see for S3 full access. When I click on that policy, it shows this. This is an example of a policy. Have a look at it, and then I'll ask you a question. Okay, so if you have read the policy, you will see certain fields. The first one is the effect allow. Then there is an action. Then there is a resource. This policy, what is saying is, on a resource star, which means on all the buckets of S3, because buckets are the resources of S3, allow an action called S3 colon star. What does that mean? Any action that needs to be performed on S3 which is available can be allowed. On what buckets in S3 can I allow? On all buckets in S3 I can allow. That is, you have full control over the complete S3. You can upload what you want, you can download what you want, you can delete what you want. That is the meaning of S3 full access as implemented by this policy document. Okay, so let's look at one more policy document before we go on to the next one. Let's look at EC2 full access. Again, it says an action is EC2, all of them allow. Resources star, action elastic load balancing allow, CloudWatch allow, auto scaling allow. So this gives you an idea of what all has to be allowed if you want to give them full permission on EC2. So EC2 also means that you need EC2 permission, elastic load balancing permission, and CloudWatch permission, auto scaling permission, etc. Okay, so this is an idea of how policies are used. The next one we will talk about is roles. Kindly go ahead and read this. Okay, what is a role? A role is an entity that defines a set of permissions for making AWS service requests. Now that looks like a user as well. User also has permission to make a request. Here, what happens is the person taking up the role need not be a user. It can be another AWS entity. What does this mean? The way it works is like this. Suppose you have a need to do SDK programming, or you want to do CLI programming, then you will access Amazon infrastructure from your laptop. When you're doing that, you need the credentials to access, because you are not logging in into the Amazon console, but rather you are directly interacting from your laptop or your desktop. For that reason, I showed you earlier how to download credentials. Those downloaded credentials must be used and must be put in a particular file before you can issue a request. Then only your request will succeed, because these credentials are always sent along with the request. Now assume this. You have an EC2 instance in which you have developed an application. The application in turn talks to S3. Now you need permissions to go talk to S3. For talking to S3, you need the credentials. And since you are running from EC2 instance, you need the credentials inside the EC2 instance. Storing credentials inside EC2 instance is not advisable. It is bad from a security perspective. Why? Because if you put your credentials into an EC2 instance, there will be others who have access to the same EC2 instance. They can log into that system and can take away your credentials. Therefore, we cannot put our credentials into things like EC2 instance. So how do you do this now? You are running a program on EC2 which needs to go and fetch data from S3, but you don't have permission to do that because you have not put credentials. The way it should work now is that we give the permissions not to the user but to the EC2 entity itself. When we do that, we say that EC2 is playing a role. So different things like Amazon Lambda, Amazon EC2 and others can play a role. In the role, instead of the user, these entities will get permission to access the services of AWS. That's how the role works. And what is the difference between role and a group? A role is for consolidation of users. It is not for storing the credentials or doing anything else. It's more ease of management. Whereas role is about an entity in AWS infrastructure taking up the role of a user. We will see how this actually works. We have already seen policies. You can, as I said, policies or JSON document. And if you need, there is a policy simulator which is available from AWS. Okay, before we go to the next concept, let me give you a demonstration of the role. First, I create a new role. Let me just check. I think that didn't get created. Just now create this role. Now, we want to first identify who will play the role. multiple entities can play this role, which is EC2 instance, or there's a directory service, or Amazon Lambda, Amazon Redshift, API Gateway. So many of them can play the role. Now I'm going to let EC2 play the role, and I'm going to give the full access for this EC2 role. So here you have the Manipal role, which has been created. Question is, how do we use this role? Okay, in order to demonstrate what the role does, let me go and see something, show you something. First, let us go to EC2, and I'm going to launch a server. The system is coming up. Now the system is running. Let me log in into the system. First, let me get the public IP. Here you go. I'll open a Segment terminal to log in. This is a Linux system. Okay, we got into this console. Now, what we need to do is issue a EC2, S3 command and find out what is the command response. This CLI command that I'm going to issue now. As you can see, it is telling us unable to locate credentials. So it says you cannot locate credentials because we have not given any credentials now. So it is not able to go and fetch anything. So what I'm going to do is, now one way of doing this is upload my credentials and make it part of the system here, and then this command will work. But as I said, that is not a good practice. But I've given a new role, and let us start another machine in that role. Okay, so the machine, when you're starting, you have to assign the role. It is not as if you give a role and immediately attach to a system. No, you define a role. As many machines as possible can start, and when they are starting, they can take up a role. Also remember one thing: if you do not take up a role when you're starting, you cannot take up a role later. That is, if you have missed the chance, you have missed the chance, or you have taken a wrong role, you have taken a wrong role. It cannot be changed. You can only you cannot disconnect the role, nor can you connect a different role. Only way to do is to terminate an instance and then start again as a new role. So let me go and launch another instance in a role that I defined. So I'll just edit a tag. So let this launch now. Now, oh, I did a mistake. That is, I did not select the role even I configured. So even this will not help me. So let me go and launch another one with the role, and I'll show you how to launch with the role. Let me go ahead and terminate this, and two of these instances I'm going to terminate. As they're getting terminated, let us launch another instance. So to launch your instance in a role, select your AMI, select your instance type, and in this particular screen, configure instance details screen, there is a IAM role which is done. So I'm going to put Manipal S3 as my role, and then I can now review and launch. Now our instance is coming up. Let us wait for a minute, and the instance should be up anytime now. Yeah, now it's come up. So let's go and find the IP address of the machine. I'm going back to my Sigwin window, and let me go and log in into this system. I'm going to give the new IP address 173, yes. Now we have logged in into the system. What we need to do now is to see whether the same command we gave earlier, which was AWS S3LS, works here without us giving any credentials, right? We have not given any credentials, but yet it should work. So let us see if that happens. Okay, let me go and type the command. Now you can see the list of all the buckets that we have. Why is this worked? Because we have launched this in a role. Earlier one, we had not launched in a role and it didn't have any permission and we didn't give any credentials, so it failed. Whereas in this case, we have launched this in a role and the role had permission to access S3 and therefore we got all the results from S3. So here we go. Okay, let me terminate this and we come back. Let me tell you a couple of things more about IAM. Okay, we saw groups, user roles, policies. Then account settings, you can do more. You can, for example, there is a password policy. You can go and set up multiple things. You can say users can change their own password. Password will require at least one alphanumeric character, require one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, whatever you want. You cannot use certain passwords again and again. You enable the password to expire after so and so times, right? Okay. Okay, this is about the password policy, and then you can have a credential report, all the users and what is the current status of the credentials you want, you can get a report. And then we have something known as identity providers. Here you can create a provider. Provider means you can choose a type of provider. There are two types which are common called SAML and OpenID Connect. If you have one such provider, which is then you can get into two things. One, we can do what is known as federation. Federation means you can use the AD, the Active Directory, in your data center and authenticate users. So users can go to AD, authenticate themselves, and come back and go log in into Amazon. So instead of giving them a user and password in Amazon, in IAM, you can configure IAM in such a way that you can get the validation done from your own AD server. That is possible. That's part of the federation. Then Amazon also supports a single sign-on, which is you can sign on into Amazon console using your Facebook account, using your Google account, using your Twitter account, I think. So all these people who are, public service providers, you can use the password and username where you log in there. The same one can be used here, and you can log in into Amazon infrastructure using that same username password. Now that sort of gives us a full idea about the IAM, that is Identity and Access Management. So let me go and delete certain things here before I forget. I can delete this group as well. So a lot of roles. Let me go and remove all these roles. Okay, so we got all of them out. So let's go back to our slides now. Fine. Close off. Okay, now the last segment which we will be dealing with in this particular course would be the CloudWatch, which is a monitoring tool which is provided by Amazon. Let's see what it does. Amazon CloudWatch. At the end of this unit, you will be able to state what is the key functionality of Amazon CloudWatch, significance of alarms in Amazon CloudWatch, what are the various uses of CloudWatch logs. All this you will know by the end of this module. What is CloudWatch? Now, CloudWatch is a service which monitors the resources inside AWS and some of the applications are running inside AWS. It collects metrics and it tracks all the metrics. And if ever you need a notification which is based on the threshold you have set, it will notify you if the threshold is breached. And you can also use your own custom metrics to monitor the resources. All this we can do with CloudWatch. So this is the architecture of CloudWatch. CloudWatch can be thought to be a repository for metrics. Okay, all AWS resources put the metrics into the repository and statistics can be retrieved based on these metrics. If you look at the diagram, you can see that the metrics comes from CloudWatch on one side, on your own monitoring tool on the other side, goes into the major repository. From the repository, it is used for multiple reasons. One could be to raise an alarm. Another could be to show the statistics in, say, a graphical form. So some people can take that out, generate graphs out of it, etc., etc. Similarly, the alarm which is raised can go to a email notification. It can go to an auto-scaling group. We have seen earlier how it went to an auto-scaling group. Can go to a email notification also, and can be sent to an auto-scaling group. The fundamental concept in CloudWatch is the concept of metric. Metric, as many of you may know, is a time-ordered set of data points. Okay, so you monitor a particular variable and see how the value associated with that variable varies with time. So let us say I take a CPU utilization as a metric. Then I have to find out how the CPU utilization varies throughout the day. That is what CloudWatch does. It will monitor it and give you. Now for EC2, metrics is collected every 5 minutes. Remember, this is not for all services. Other services time may not make sense, but for EC2, metrics are collected for every 5 minutes, once every 5 minutes, and they are shown to you. Whereas if you want a detailed monitoring, Amazon will collect it at 1 minute time interval, but you will incur a cost. The 5-minute metric for EC2 is free of cost. All the metrics that are collected get stored for a period of 2 weeks. That is, if you collect it today, for the next 14 days, those metrics are available. Suppose you have a system and you are running it EC2, then you terminate the EC2, still whatever were the metrics available will be available for 2 weeks time. Okay, alarms can be configured by users. Before I go and tell you about alarms, let me show you a small demo of the metrics. This is where you get under management tools, you have CloudWatch. So go and click on it. So in the left side dashboard, if you see, there are multiple things. Alarms, billing. So what is this billing? Billing is a billing alarm, which I'll come to after next time when we talk about alarms. This time we talk about metrics. Now in case of a metric, for every service that you use, Amazon automatically captures a metric for that service. So if you use EC2, there will be metric for EC2. If you store things in S3, you will have metric for S3, and so on and so forth. So let us see on the left side. These are all the services that I have used. API Gateway, DynamoDB, EBS, EC2, ELB, etc., etc. So let us go to EC2 and let me tell you about one of these things. Okay. Now, please remember this. This comes in questions, in exams many times. The EC2 metric does not include memory utilization. EC2 metric does not include memory utilization. It includes CPU utilization. It includes how many packets were transferred, how many packets came in. It also includes a lot of things about how many disk writes happen, how many disk reads happen, etc. All this is maintained there. But you will see there are two things which are missing and which may be of interest to you. One of them is the memory metric. The second is the disk utilization metric. There is no disk utilization metrics available here. So how do you get this metrics in? If it is very importantly needed for you, then you have an option of building your own metric, and that will come down as customized metric. If you write the metric into the CloudWatch using the SDK or using the API. So let us go and look at what it graph type of thing it does. So these are the various metrics that are currently available. So if I want to graph them, I just go and select this. There is no real data available. Maybe I immediately killed it. So here you go. I'll try something else. No. These I have not really utilized anything, which means that it has been long time since I used them. So I'm not getting maybe network out, network in. So you can see one small dot coming up. These show that. Now let me go and look at S3 metrics. S3 has a different type of metric. It says number of objects, what's the byte size there. So if I go there, you will see certain numbers coming up. Okay, you can see that here. Okay, so there are multiple things which are going on, but our range is very low. Last 1 hour, let me say. So here I get an idea. You can get an idea that I can put up different ranges. I can put a relative range of last 1 hour, absolute range of saying from this day to this day, right? And or you can get the, and you can put this in the universal time, or you can put it in local time. So let's say I wanted to know more about lambda. So what is the duration? And here it tells you what durations it can run, what throttles, and which was the lambda. I can, let me say, print with name. Okay, I can run with context, or no, last 1 hour this is not run, so probably relatively, yeah, 12 hours ago. Oh, okay. So they are all there somewhere else, but what happens is when you do this, you should be able to get all the details of the metrics. Another way of getting it is if you can go to the EC2 dashboard itself. Let me try and start one instance, because I want to show you how the instance would look like. Now you can see the terminated instance. Let's see if there are any metrics on this. So here if you go to monitoring, you should see that these are all the metrics, because I didn't do anything on them. There is nothing there. Manipal role, I did something on it. So there could be some minimal thing. No, not much at all, because we terminated it very fast. So the old one will not see. So let us launch an instance. Okay, as this is launching, let's go back to our CloudWatch and see what else is available there. There are a lot of EC2 here, but I have not done anything on EC2 much. So API gateway, for example, Lambda API count, is there something? No. So it says last 12 hours, there's nothing. So I did this something like 23 hours back. So if I do that, let's see if anything comes in. No. Okay. And I have to say, okay, do this. So here I've not really done anything. So Lambda API Adobe Lambda to test, right? Say last 24 hours should be fine, not 12 hours, not fine. Then it adjusts itself. It is doing for 24 hours now. Like evening 7:30 of yesterday to this, I got 12 hours. Now let me go and see how to this range, and it has gone from 9:30, okay, of yesterday to 6:30 now, and much beyond. Count is there. Where is the count? Okay, integration latency. So for everything, you can view in a graph, provided there is some data. Currently, I don't think I have too much of data in any of these. Therefore, there is a problem. Number of messages published. If I have something, let me put up 12 days ago, 2 now. Right? So it is put up 7 days ago. Again, in these cases, I have not, there's nothing that I have done. So that is again a problem. So many of these, there are nothing there. Therefore, log metrics, so incoming bytes. Now here you can see, in this metric, you can see the bytes, incoming bytes, here, 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 at what time they came, at what time they came, what time they came. So how many bytes coming? And incoming log events, then these are the log events, the orange ones. The blue ones are the incoming log bytes. And you can find out for each one of them which came, right? So for this, what came, and then you can see that as green, and you can see something else with a different color. So this shows you which ones came. So all this is, you can graph all of them here and see. But remember, these are not saved for you. So you have to write your own program and save these into any format that you want. But it allows you to create a dashboard. For example, I can go and do, so let's say I want an incoming bytes. I add this to the dashboard. I'll add a name. There you go, right? So incoming data, it's not there. So let me change this. So bytes, whatever I want, I can give the number. So if I don't want it, I can delete this. Okay, suppose I go back to this, which was that was lambda or logs. Okay. Now this is 12 years ago, right? 12, add to the dashboard. 12 this one, what do you want? I want more, 822, 622, no. I want a range, adjusting the time range. So I want to adjust the time range. I can adjust the time range here and accordingly then put it in the dashboard. So that dashboard will show you, right, the whatever is of interest. For example, you want to access another dashboard, time range. I want to do 3 hours or last 24 hours, 24 hours. So here you go. It is showing you some data, right? Or last 2 days, for example, 2, and I can say days, last 2 days, and there is one point which has come up here. I can do another, add another metric graph, and the graph could be of something else again which I want. For example, I go to log group metrics and I select, say, DynamoDB incoming log events, and let's see if that has anything for me. This doesn't have much. So okay, let me see if I can. Really doesn't have much, does it? So let me say, put this up and create this widget. This widget comes here, and on this widget again, you can go and do this for 2 days, right? And edit it for coming one. So you can edit that and save these in the dashboard. So what happens is you can get whatever you want into this dashboard so that you can quickly have a look at how things are working in your own infrastructure. So this is important. So this dashboard is something which we can do from here. Then comes, we see this, we also get something known as logs. Logging happens in many places. For example, if you are using a Lambda function, some of the login happens here. You can go and click on it, and then you will get to know what happened, what was the state of the Lambda function, how long it ran, what duration it got billed, etc., etc. Right? So here it is. Add to dashboard. I want to just go ahead and dashboards here, and Manipal dashboard is there, and unsaved change. We want to navigate, discard, and continue. 1 minute. So Manipal action. I can delete the dashboard. I don't need it. So Manipal 2. Again, I don't need this now. I delete the dashboard. Here you can also, for every of the dashboard, you can also include the name of the dashboard, what was that, etc., etc. Okay, now we've seen how this works, and this is a place for custom metrics. For API gateway, I had defined some custom metrics, and these are the metrics that you can look at it. Now you can see this here, the different colors that are coming in, Lambda, some more are coming in, some more API. So there are multiple things that can come which are custom metrics. So you can define your custom metrics. There are 6 of them here, and all of them are, I put them here, so you can see them all in different colors. So these were done by the concerned service. They are generated as custom metrics. If you want to do custom metrics, very easy. You have to define what your metrics are, and then you have to use the SDK to push your metrics into CloudWatch. Once you push the metrics into CloudWatch, CloudWatch will start monitoring these metrics for you and will display the metrics here. Okay, so let me take this off. Okay, now what I wanted to do now was to go to show you the alarms. Now we got one running instance now. Now this running instance, we're not given it any name, it doesn't matter now. Now in this case, let us go and check certain things. The first thing we can look at is to check status checks. There are 2 types of status checks which are given here. One is called the system status check. Now the system status check means what is the state of the system on which the hypervisor is running. See, as you know, what you are given by Amazon is a virtual machine. So virtual machine will need an hypervisor to run. So that hypervisor is on a bare metal, and I want to know what is the status of the bare metal. That is got here from the system check. So system status check tells you the performance of the bare metal and tells you how good or how bad the bare metal is running now, if there are any issues. So the question becomes, okay, if I know bare metal is running not so great, hypervisor is having some problem, what can I do? I don't have access to the hypervisor. So what can I do? Well, the simple thing you can do is to stop your machine and restart it again if it is running on a slightly non-performant hypervisor or hypervisor with any problems. What happens is when you shut down and you restart, Amazon will check where it has to restart your VM, and then it understands that it cannot restart on this particular hypervisor because it's having some problem. So it will eventually end up starting you on a different hypervisor. So that will help. So if you see any hypervisor issues here, shut down your system and restart. The other one is the instance status check. This is about your own instance, whether there are any networking problems or some other problems for your instance that are captured here. So there you get an instance status check and a system status check. Then comes monitoring. These are the metrics we are monitoring through. Here we saw, here if you see, you can see some activity. That is, it went up to 3-point-odd% utilization when the system booted up. And after that, we are running nothing on the system. So the utilization slowly dropped down. It's now about 0. Similarly, there was some activity on discretes when the booting started up. There was some activity initially on the networking. Network packets came out, went out, etc., etc. But after that, everything is flat. Now, let us go and check how we can create an alarm and show you how the alarm works. To create an alarm, it says no alarms have been configured. So no alarms created. Okay. So you have to create an alarm using this create alarm button. Okay. What is my alarm going to be? Well, my alarm is going to do the following, right? That is, it is going to find out if the CPU utilization of my machine over the past 5 minutes has been less than a certain value. Let us say we'll put 50%. Now we know our system is not involved in anything. Therefore, it definitely will never get to 50% utilization. So I'm going to say, if it is less than 50% utilization, go ahead and terminate the instance. Okay, let us try that. I'm going to take an action which is terminate this instance. Okay, and I'm going to say whenever average of CPU utilization is less than 50%. Okay, so what am I going to do? Is going to terminate the instance if the average is less than 50%. Okay, I will also send a notification to myself. Create the alarm. Because it has been running for quite some time, the alarm is already done because last 5 minutes it has been less than 50%. So I can view, I can go and view the alarm. Okay, these are alarms which I will remove. Oh, unfortunately, I've removed my own alarm. Okay, let's see how to recover that. Okay, the alarm has gone off. Uh, let's see. It's not configured. It got deleted. Unfortunately, let's create it again. I'm just going to send a notification. Um Take the action and let's say terminate. Okay, terminate the instance and average superler less than 50%, right? And create this alarm. Okay, let me see if I've got an uh, if I got any message. Let's see where I have created this alarm. Okay, give me a second. It's becoming slow. So here you can see that the alarm has been generated here. And what is this ICPU alarm? It tells you this is the alarm I wanted to generate. Okay. Okay, I think I've enabled the termination protection. Okay. Right. I want to check if okay, we got this alarm. So this is how the alarm keeps getting generated. And I had not created a certain role. That is why it is not getting terminated yet. But otherwise, they should get automatically terminated as well. So the alarm will get triggered whenever the particular value is reached. As of now, we saw that because it is already running, the value is already reached, and therefore the alarm will get triggered. You can see the same alarm in the CloudWatch place also. So we have set here 50%, so you can see it is setting here. You have with notification topics or an unconfirmed subscription. That's okay. Uh, so you have one alarm, here it is. So if I want to no notification because I have not set that up correctly, therefore it is not doing this. Okay. Okay, history, it shows you what happened. Overall, it will tell you about the particular thing. When was the configure operated, alarm updated to insufficient data to alarm, successfully executed action, alarm updated. Everything will be told to you in the history part. Okay, so I want to remove this, I delete this alarm. Right? Then there is another thing which is there in CloudWatch, which was recently introduced called as events. Now, this will help you to respond to state changes in your AWS resource. What does that mean? Um Alarms are for drastic things. You're measuring certain metrics, and based on the metrics threshold you do. But what if I want to inform you when a system is shut down, or when a system starts, or when a system is terminated? For those, this is one way in which an event can help. So event helps you to respond to state changes for your AWS resources. Okay. Whenever this resource changes a state, what do you mean changing a state? Changing a state, as I said, is like this. For example, you are in running state, you are now become shut down. You are in a shutdown state, you are becoming in running state. These are state changes. When these state changes happen, automatically events are sent out. Now you can create rules, okay, and say that, okay, if this event happens, take a certain action. Okay, the action can be taken by something like lambda. So you will map it up an event change, and that event change has to be handled by lambda. That way, for example, you can configure all the rules that you have to say that, okay, when this event happens, automatically invoke a lambda function. Okay, uh, and periodically you invoke a built-in target to create a snapshot of a volume. Things like this can happen. You can create your rule. So the idea is, first watch the events of interest, create rules to select events, and specify actions. For example, I want to create a rule. I would take an event source, right? Is it easy to change? You want to change notification because state change, or a specific state? What state? I want to, when it is going to shutdown state, or when it is in a running state. Okay? Which instance? Any instance or a specific instance? You have one instance running, two instance running. Which instance are you targeting? Okay? And say show sample events, it will show you there's nothing there now for the time being. Okay? Now go to add target. You have to select a function. These are all the functions which I have. I can select any function I want, and then you can add more targets, whatever function you want, right? I'll remove this off, okay, and done. So configure the details. What is the name, rule, okay? What is the description, okay? So it will add necessary permission to targets, so they are invoked when this rule is triggered. So name is Manipal, and description is none. Create a rule. Okay. Okay. This rule has now been created. Status is what? So this rule is ready now to be done. So if there is a state change, then a particular lambda function will automatically be called. That is the way in which events are being handled now in the Amazon infrastructure. So whenever there is an event, you can specify what event you want and accordingly take this up. So I go to actions and delete this rule called Manipal. Suppose I want to create another rule. Source event could be a schedule. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, say 5 hours. Okay? You can put a cron. Cron is what you know how to do this, right? And then add a target, select a function, or configure input. Okay, some matched event, part of the matched event, configure a version, which version you want to run of the function, etc., etc., and then you create the rule. Okay, that is about doing the events from CloudWatch. So that sort of gives you an idea of what all CloudWatch is capable of. So let us go and look at the final PPT. What is an alarm? Yeah, as you said, alarm is something which is configured by the users. Alarms are raised when a particular metric crosses a threshold value. Alarms can automatically perform actions on behalf of the users, or they can be connected to SNS to send notification, or they can auto scale to scale resources up and down. If you go to this link, it will tell you what all AWS services support CloudWatch alarms. Now, of course, we saw the logs. The logs is to monitor and troubleshoot your system and applications, and you can also write your own custom log files into this logger. You can monitor the log in real time. You can look for certain phrases. You can look for values or patterns. You can retain log for a long term. And there are some log agents which are supported on Linux, Ubuntu, and Windows, which you can use to do something on the logs. Now you can have up to 3 dashboards. I showed you how the dashboards are created. You can have up to 3 dashboards, up to 50 metrics per month at no extra charge. The basic monitoring, as I said, 5-minute interval for EC2 is free of charge, and all metrics of EBS or load balancers, RDS instance are all free of charge for you. The new and existing customers will receive around 10 metrics, 10 alarms, 1 API request every month at no charge. The new and existing customers also receive a 5 GB of data ingestion and 5 GB of archive storage per month at no additional charge for the CloudWatch. Pricing $3 if you use a dashboard other than the free one per month. Detailed monitoring $3.5 per instance per month. This is where you monitor at 1 minute frequency on an EC2 instances. Then CloudWatch custom metrics about 50 cents per month. These are other pricing. How much for an alarm, how much for an API request, how much for CloudWatch logs. And what is the data transfer out from CloudWatch log? Is the standard data transfer out from EC2. That's how they put that up. So here is the final summary. Key points discussed. We discussed identity and access management, IAM. IAM is used to create users, manage permissions for user, create groups, create rules, create roles for entities, and allows for federation. And CloudWatch is something which monitors your resources and the application you run on AWS in real time. So that sort of brings us to the completion of the complete course hours, or the interactive hours. So I hope you had now you have a clear idea of what AWS is all about and the various services that form the part of AWS. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can either write it in the chat window, or you can ask me. If you want a voice, I can bring up your voice. Well, looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you, all of you, for this. These recordings will be available for you, and all the best if you're going to write your exams. Thanks, and it was a pleasure teaching you.